have the two best guys in the world, so I'm really happy.
I've been bubbling all week! I'm like that bottle of champagne!
The Met Gala is effectively fashion's Oscars.
Luckily, I don't care, actually, as long as the English players come through.
The Duchess of Sussex has gone into labour. Prince Harry is by her side.
Prince Harry has announced that his wife, the Duchess of Sussex, has given birth to a baby boy.
Prince Harry could not have looked any happier. A beaming new dad who personally wanted to tell the world about his new son.
I'm very excited to announce that Meghan and myself had a baby boy early this morning, a very healthy boy. Mother and baby are doing incredibly well. It's been the most amazing experience I could ever possibly imagine. How any woman does what they do is beyond comprehension, but we're both absolutely thrilled and so grateful to all the love and support from everybody out there. It's been amazing, so we just wanted to share this with everybody.
The excitement in Windsor is mounting as royal fans wait to see the new arrival for the very first time.
Buckingham Palace rounding out the birth of a newly born royal baby boy.
As you can see, the champagne has already been opened. There have been corks flying. Oh no, I think we could have been the target line for getting a cork in the eye, but let's try and grab a quick word before we are impaled. Wonderful news. Like you said, fantastic news. It is so wonderful. We've waited for ages. I've been bubbling all week. I'm like that bottle of champagne. And so you have been here how long? No, only today, but I've been at work and trying to work and I can't because I've been too excited. Just aim it away from us for the moment while we continue to have a chat. And the news that it was a boy, lovely news.
Beautiful news, wonderful news. Yes, I thought it was going to be a boy.
And I mean, I know that perhaps we didn't, have people queuing outside a hospital for days, but it's still a nice atmosphere.
It is! Yay!
Back in London, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were clearly excited to be an uncle and aunt.
The Queen should be up in the castle now, contemplating the really good news.
I'm very pleased and glad to welcome my brother to the Sleep Deprivation Society that is parenting, so yeah, that will be fun to do that.
Do you have any advice for Harriet or being a father of three?
Oh, there's plenty of advice, but no, I wish them all the best, and I hope the next few days they can settle down and enjoy having a newborn in their family and all the sort of joys that come with that. So, yeah.
No, it's such a special time, obviously, and Louis and Charlotte just having had their birthdays. It's such a great time of year to have a baby. And yeah, it's spring's in the air. It's really great. Yeah, look, as William said, look forward to meeting him and finding out what his name's going to be.
So life is good for you, Your Majesty. Thank you. Congratulations, another great grandchildren. How many of them have you got now? 8. You beat me by 1.
We are being introduced to the baby for the very first time. As you can imagine, there is a lot of flash photography. Here we go.
Archie Harrison Mountbatten-Windsor was introduced to the world today by his proud parents, Prince Harry and the Duchess of Sussex.
It's magic. It's pretty amazing, and I mean, I have the two best guys in the world, so I'm really happy.
Tell us a little bit about your son. What's he like? Is he sleeping well? Good baby?
Yes, he has the sweetest temperament. He's really calm and.
I don't know where he gets that from.
Yeah, and he's just been the dream. So it's been a special couple days.
Who does he take after? Does he look like anyone?
We're still trying to figure that out.
Everyone says that babies change so much over 2 weeks. We're basically sort of monitoring how the changing process happens over this next month, really. But his looks are changing every single day. Yeah, so who knows?
And how do you find parenting generally?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, parenting is amazing. It's only been 2.5 days, 3 days.
Yeah.
But we're just so thrilled to have our own little bundle of joy. And to be able to spend some precious times with him as he slowly starts to grow up.
The The US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has paid a flying visit to London, during which he met the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary, and took part in a round table about religious freedom with the Archbishop of Canterbury. I spoke to Mr. Pompeo during his visit and asked him about Iran, Iraq, and the royal baby Archie. I began asking about his opinion of the so-called special relationship between the UK and USA.
It has been a remarkable last couple hundred years, where we've achieved great outcomes in 2 world wars. In the battles of today, we work alongside each other in Afghanistan and in Syria. These are important undertakings. We have deep commercial ties, and I know of no other nation that has this unique, special relationship that is lasting and as special as the one that our 2 countries have.
And a special dimension now, we've got Americans in the royal family.
Yes. A wonderful addition to the special relationship.
Do you think Donald Trump will be bringing an American passport for the new baby when he comes over next time?
I guess I do issue passports, but I'll leave that to others.
Now, I suppose the top issue for you on this particular visit has been Iran. You went at short notice to Iraq this week. What is the immediate threat that you see from Iran?
So my trip to Baghdad was to talk with the Iraqi leadership based on some very specific threats we had about Iranian activity that was taking place that put at substantial risk our facilities, our men and women who are serving in Iraq. And I wanted to make very clear to them that they needed to be kept secure, and the Iraqi leadership was great and have done that. They've certainly made that commitment. But we also wanted to talk to them about the fact that we know Iraq is a neighbor of Iran, but we want to do all the things we can to make sure that Iraq has the opportunity to be independent and sovereign and free from interference from any nation.
I mean, the United Kingdom on the question of relations with Iran, and also more significantly economically in terms of relations with China, is in a different position from the United States. It's not a competitor, it's a trading nation that wants to trade with both sides. Do you understand that, or do you think there is a choice facing Britain on, for example, Huawei, which you talked about?
Well, when it comes to Huawei and ZTE, the United States has been crystal clear. We don't believe you can have those technology in your systems and still have a trusted network. We're happy to continue to look at technology and see ways we might achieve that, but the United States, for its part, will only participate in trusted networks. We will only share America's information with those networks that we are confident aren't under the control of China or China's government. And so there's real risk if countries choose that path that we won't be able to participate in those networks because
So potentially
of the risk.
this could threaten Britain's security relationship with the United States.
We'll find a way. I'm very confident that we're 2 important partners, but we certainly will never put America's national security secrets in a network that we don't have confidence in.
Now, the inquest has opened into the deaths of 8 people killed in the London Bridge terror attack. The coroner began by describing the events that took place on the 3rd of June 2017, calling it a night of high and terrible drama. Victims' families were then asked to give pen portraits of their lost loved ones. I spoke to the parents of 21-year-old Sarah Zelenak.
Sarah, she smiled with her eyes. She was happy. She always saw the good in everyone. She was a younger, better version of myself. She was exactly the same height and weight. And we clashed a lot because we're so alike. And she planned this trip of a lifetime with her eldest brother, who did the same trip 2 years prior. And she was so excited to go to London on this amazing journey, and she was having the time of her life, doing everything 21-year-olds should do, doing everything before you have children, before you get into your career, and she was the happiest she'd ever been.
It seems so cruel, Mark, that when you look at the events of that night, that it just seemed like fate was just not working in Sarah's way. Every decision led to this being just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
It definitely did. Sarah would normally work that Saturday night, and she was given the night off by her au pair family. Then she was going to go to Soho that evening. They were going to go to a rooftop bar, and that changed, and then they were heading off to a different restaurant. Sarah's main aim, and reading back through her phone messages, that she wanted to get dressed up and go out. So that's what she was looking. Yeah, she wanted to be classy. And it was just every sliding door that could slid for Sarah to, I guess, put her in that position.
He's the former Chancellor of the Exchequer who switched number 11 Downing Street for Fleet Street. George Osborne, once tipped to succeed David Cameron as Prime Minister, is now editor of the Evening Standard, a position from which he's been a prominent critic of Brexit and of Theresa May. She ousted him from government in the months after the UK voted to leave the EU. I sat down with him in Manchester where he told me it's time for her to go.
Eventually the party has to confront the truth, which is it needs a new leader, it needs a new agenda, it needs to win over supporters who have disappeared from it, and it needs to make an appeal to urban, metropolitan Britain that have currently turned their back on conservatism. And if that's the case, if that continues to be the trend, then there won't be a Conservative government for much longer.
Why do you think she's hanging on in there? Do you think it's because she's trying to protect her own legacy, or is she trying to govern in the national interest? I mean, what do you think it is?
Well, I think Theresa May obviously really wants to deliver her Brexit deal, but she has not got the numbers to do that. And all she's got left is hoping that Jeremy Corbyn, a person who she every day says is unfit for national office, to come to her rescue to keep her in national office. And that is not, in my mind, a successful plan for a Prime Minister.
I heard that you had said to someone, why would a Corbyn who wants to be in government save a drowning Prime Minister?
The incentives on an opposition are to replace the government because you think genuinely you'd do a better job. And so I think any opposition leader would be very hard-pressed to rescue a dying Prime Minister. I think there's a point where you have to ask yourself as a political party, how many more elections are we going to lose? So we lost the majority in 2017, we got hammered in the local elections earlier this month, and now we've got these European elections where it's quite possible that the Conservative Party, for the first time in its long and distinguished history, is going to come fourth in a national poll. And essentially there's a responsibility on the current members of Parliament and indeed the supporters in the country to do something about that. And it is within their hands. You can't just say this is all beyond my control if you're a member of the cabinet. You have a responsibility. And as it happens, if I was giving them any advice, I would suggest to them individually, if they want to lead, fortune favours the brave in these leadership contests.
The second series of Sky Atlantic drama Riviera is set for release later this month. The story of power, money and murder on the Côte d'Azur. Hollywood actress Julia Stiles returns in a leading role as she struggles to regain control at the top of the Cleos family, and we learn more about her troubled history.
We all have our secrets, darling.
I sat down with her this week to find out more.
She was sort of this guileless, innocent, optimistic girl who now had all this tragedy heaped on her. And because of her actions at the end of season 1, she has to just put one foot in front of the other. And she's determined to prove to herself that she's not a sociopath, but also maintain her power and position. And so she is quite corrupted by the world that she lives in. I couldn't have anticipated exactly how much this was going to be about the women of the Riviera, but I'm so proud to be part of a show that a show like this could so easily be about the billionaire men and the male businessmen. And certainly we have our girls in bikinis and we have all the glitz and the glamour, and women who are rivals with each other, but really the powerhouses and the movers and shakers are the female characters. Right now, as an actress, I'm more excited about the opportunities coming my way and also for my peers. I do think that there are some amazing female-driven shows on TV.
And I suppose a defining role and film for a generation was that of Kat in 10 Things I Hate About You. She didn't have to change the way she was to attract the guy. Mm-hmm. And it's still relevant today.
Well, and her goal wasn't to attract the guy, which I thought was interesting and new. I wanted that part so badly because it was the first time that I had read a character of a teenage girl who was so feisty and contrarian.
I mean, you look at what's going on in US politics and you look at the Mueller investigation and talk of Russian collusion and the Twitter rows that are going on. I mean, it could be a Hollywood screenplay at the moment, couldn't it?
I look forward to the day when it becomes a movie and we can look back on this fleeting time in US history.
No runner in history has ever broken the 2-hour barrier for a marathon. Realistically, Eliud Kipchoge of Kenya is the only person who could ever dare to dream of doing so. At Iffley Road in Oxford, the track where Sir Roger Bannister famously ran the first ever sub-4-minute mile in May 1954, four-time London Marathon winner and world record holder Kipchoge has announced a fresh bid to make history by running 26.2 miles in less than 120 minutes.
Tell me, how much of running is mental? You've always said that the strongest thing is a peaceful mind.
You can't run when you are not fit, but above all, what drives actually a man or a human being is the conscience. So mental is actually having an upper hand in running, because the moment you are fit enough and you are poor mentally, you can't do anything.
What drives you to break this barrier?
Roger Bannister broke a 4-minute barrier on 6th May 1954, and I tried to break a 2-hour barrier on 6th May 2017. So it's a big relationship, and what drives me to do this actually is to leave the legacy in sport. Is to tell the community or the family of a human being that you can go beyond your capability. That's why I always say no human is limited.
What will this mean for your legacy? We know what you've achieved in life and what you will always be remembered for, but if you can break the 2-hour barrier, your great-grandchildren, the whole world will remember Eliud Kipchoge if you do this.
It means a lot, actually. I want the world to remember the whole, more than 3 billion human community, actually, to know that sport is whereby we can get freedom. Sport is the profession whereby other professionals are running there to get the freedom.
Eliud, we wish you the best of luck, and we will be there when you do it.
Thank you.
Just a warning, there is some flash photography coming up. Extravagant outfits took centre stage at one of the world of fashion's biggest events, the Met Gala in New York. The theme for attendees was camp, notes on fashion, and who do you think that is? Oh yeah, Lady Gaga changed 4 times on the red carpet, arriving in that hot pink gown before revealing a black evening dress, which is very lovely, followed by a second pink number before ending her run on the red carpet in sparkling lingerie. Meanwhile, Katy Perry chose to wear a chandelier. Janelle Monáe completed her dress with a blinking eye, and Jared Leto carried his own head. What is the Met Gala?
Well, so the Met Gala is effectively fashion's Oscars. Once a year, they throw together everything they can for to coincide with an event at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So, for example, this year there is going to be an exhibition devoted to camp based on a very serious high art essay by Susan Sontag. So what they do is Anna Wintour, editor of Vogue, she brings together, she's the co-chair, but she very cleverly brings in sort of people of the moment to be her co-chairs. And so the idea is that there's a lot of attention, and thus the pictures that we saw last night.
OK, who particularly caught your attention?
Well, I'm never going to go far beyond Celine Dion for a bit of camp, and
Right.
she did not disappoint.
Yeah.
She was wearing a sort of, people have compared it with a spaghetti drainer, if you're being cruel.
Apparently it took several thousand hours to make or something.
All these things do. I mean, probably the effort involved is mind-boggling. The tickets per person alone are $30,000, and then you add in the dresses and the jewels. But I mean, if anybody can carry off a spaghetti drainer, it is Celine Dion.
The man who masterminded England's journey to a World Cup semi-final last summer, Gareth Southgate, is taking part in a scheme to teach young people about leadership. I caught up with the England manager at an event hosted by the Prince's Trust, where he told me why the initiative matters to him and also gave his thoughts on next month's Champions League final between Liverpool and Tottenham.
I think when you're young, you're working all of those things out in your life. You don't know maybe necessarily exactly what you want to do, and you assume that everybody that's older and appears successful on the outside, that life's been a breeze for them. And generally speaking, all the successful people I've ever met, that hasn't been the case.
You with England had incredible success. Do you kind of brace yourself for when the results are not quite so good?
Well, I've had a fair amount of failure as well with England, so I'm pretty well adapted to what that might be. And you know that for every success there will be difficult times, but as a leader you've got to take the rest of the group through those difficult times and keep them on track, keep them focused on the vision ahead and lead them through those difficult spells. They're the biggest challenges for leaders.
It's been the most extraordinary 48 hours. Can you quite believe what you've witnessed with these two wins by Liverpool and Tottenham?
I was in Anfield on Tuesday, so left there thinking I'd seen one of the most, I've been in football 30 years, one of the most incredible nights I can remember. For it then to be backed up by Tottenham on Wednesday was phenomenal. I mean, huge credit to both managers. In different circumstances, they've achieved incredible seasons. And from an England perspective, brilliant for all of our players that they're having these experiences in big matches where they're having to play under pressure. And they've come out successfully.
Is it good for England though, because you've got this issue now, haven't you?
Well, it's making things more complicated, that's for sure, because reality is we'll get 7 or 8 of those players 3 days before our semi-final. So you have great ideas as a manager of planning things and working with the team, and in truth we'll have half of our squad that won't be with us until 3 days before.
So who's going to win the Champions League?
It's been a remarkable year in that competition, and anything is possible, and luckily I don't care actually. As long as the English players come through, play well and stay fit, then I'm happy.